The very first thing we're going to talk about is the VST bundle. This is an amazing little bundle of free plugins, and I want to show you a few of them. The first one is called G-Snap. This is an auto-tune plugin. It's really simple to use. You can either do snap to selected notes. I'm doing like an A minor, C major thing, where I have all the white keys selected and all the black keys deactivated. And you can also do snap to MIDI input, where you can feed it MIDI notes or write out a melody in MIDI, and then that's what the audio will do. Let's take a listen to it real quick.
G-Snap is an auto-tune, and it works pretty well.
They also have this really cool reverse delay that sounds like this.
G-Snap is an auto-tune, and it works pretty well.
They also have a ducking delay, which is super useful. If you look at this audio here, right here you'll see a big dead space, and then there's a little bit of dead space here, and then a little bit more at the end. This ducking delay is going to be loud during these dead spaces. And then when there's actual audio going, it's going to turn way down. And that keeps it really clean, and it keeps it from overlapping with the audio and sounding all sloppy.
G-Snap is an auto-tune, and it works pretty well.
Yeah. Next from this VST bundle, let's talk about this compressor. I really love this VST compressor for things like if I have a vocal track and some notes are really loud and some notes are really quiet, like this little sample here.
You better just calm on down.
You can see that the word calm is incredibly louder than the rest of it. And if this were a real vocal from a real song, which fortunately it's not, I would still want this word calm to be the loudest word in the phrase, but I don't want it to be that much louder. And this compressor has a graphic readout.
You better just calm on down.
You can see how far you're going down into the audio.
Calm.
So let's get way down in there.
Calm.
And now we got this.
You better just calm on down.
Right here, I bounce the audio down after the compressor. Here's the word calm right here. And you can see it's just a little bit louder than everything else. But it's exactly where you would want it to be. It still has some emphasis, but it's obviously not looking horrible like that. Next, this is G-Synth 2. It's a 3 oscillator monophonic synth. My favorite part about this, it has a full randomize, which will randomize everything. Usually that'll give you really crazy sounds and swooshy, transitiony, sweepy craziness, but this partial random will actually kind of keep things close to what you started with. So if you have a sound you like and you want to randomize it just a little bit and keep it close to that original sound. I hit this partial random about 7 times and got this. That sounds great. There's no other compression or EQ or anything else on this synth. This is just the G-Synth 2, no studio tricks. Here's the main LFO over here. Let's turn this from falling to rising. Get your hands up. This is the HY monophonic synth, and like the G-Synth, it has some cool randomization features. If I roll this dice right now, it's going to randomize everything, because if you look down here where it says randomize setting, I have all 7 of these engaged. I'm going to start with this sound, by the way. If I hit randomize everything, whoa. You know, it's totally different every time. But if I come down here to randomize setting, let's turn off the main 2 oscillators. Let's leave this delay alone. And let's just randomize these 4 things. So we're starting with this. And now I'm going to hit randomize. It's more musical. moving on to the next. This is a Transient Shaper by Audio Assault. It's really just going to either sharpen or dull the attack of a sound. I do a lot of vinyl drum samples, and I absolutely could not do it without a Transient Shaper. For instance, here is a vinyl kick drum by itself, and here's with the Transient Shaper. Without and with. And I've just cranked the attack up and turned the sustain down a little bit. It absolutely makes all the difference in the world, especially if you're dealing with certain samples. Here's where I bounced down a before and after. And you can see the sample originally, it started really quiet and then it kind of slopes up to the loudest point. That's not good for a kick drum. But you'll see after the Transient Shaper, the beginning is the loudest point and then it slopes down. And that's going to be a nice punchy drum right there. Let's look at this next one. This is Bark of Dog by Boz Digital Labs. It just adds some low end and some sub frequency to maybe a kick drum or a bass line or anything that needs it. For instance, if you listen to this kick drum by itself. And here is Bark of Dog. Without. With. If you look at my master volume here, the kick by itself is peaking at negative 3.72 dB. And then with the plugin, it's only peaking about 2.5 or whatever decibels louder, but I'm adding 12 decibels at 36 hertz. It's letting me really crank up some low end without getting too much more amplitude overall. Up next is Bass Murdock. And a lot of these presets sound like this. No matter what note I hit on my keyboard, it's playing the exact same pitch. So the first thing I want to do is come down here where it says kick low and click on this until it says off, and now you can play it chromatically. Most of these presets have this amount and duration and power like really heavily exaggerated. So if you just kind of like chill this out a little bit. You can get some really good sounding bass. It also has a really, really good distortion unit with bit crush and sample rate reduction. Yeah. Next, we have this Doppler Dome. You have a pan, a volume, and then a pitch that's gonna follow along with your route. So right now, if I just turn up the pan, got the speed over here. And then you also have the volume. The pitch is tricky. If you turn it way up, it's not really musical anymore. But if you just give a little bit of this pitch, it can create like a nice little warped, melting, lo-fi kind of sound. You can kind of start dragging and dropping in points, making a little route with this thing. And it's very three-dimensional and really cool. And you can pretty much go nuts with this. Next, it's just a MIDI chord analyzer. So if I play a chord, it tells me what it is. That was D minor, E minor, F, G, C major 7. Let's talk about Freak Show Industries. This is a really cool company. Backmask is one, and I did a whole video on this. I'll show you a quick clip. So yeah, it's a reverse effect, and the two most important things is one at the bottom right corner, this question mark. If you click it, you can see what everything is. So it's almost like unusable if you don't click right here. And this reverse alternating is my favorite part because it's easy to make audio backwards. You don't even really need a plug-in for it. But the reverse alternating, like if you have a ride cymbal or something, it'll reverse every other note and any way you want to set it up. So that's like really, really cool.
This is really cool.
The second Freak Show plugin I really love is Mish B, and this is brand new. I made a video on this where I play with this thing for 18 minutes straight. Here's a small clip of that. Next up is a plugin called Refine. This is a plugin made for your mastering chain. The reason I knew that this plugin was legit right off the bat is because if you crank everything all the way up, it's still really subtle. That'll tell you right there that it's not some kind of gimmicky plugin geared towards beginners and people that don't know what they're doing. Sometimes mastering plugins get on my nerves because even when you pull them into your DAW, everything gets louder and it's supposed to impress you, and it's kind of a trick. I have this drum loop right here. And I have everything turned all the way up in Refine. Without it. With it. Without. With. And I've tried this out on mastering chains and I really love it, and it will give things just a little bit more oomph. And it is subtle, but on a mastering chain, that's exactly what you want. You don't want some gimmicky plugin that's going to drive everything to shit and make it sound terrible. I've got a few more from HY I want to show you. This is the HY Delay 4. This is the best fully loaded free delay plugin I've ever seen. Actually, it's one of the best delay plugins I've ever seen, period. It has everything you need. Ping pong, regular, synced. It has the ducker over here, and we talked about duck delay earlier. It has an entire EQ as well as a high pass and low pass. This is everything you need in a delay. This is the HY filter. I used this on an older video when I was making instruments out of vinyl samples, and I used it on the bass, and it took a really boring bass sound and made it really cool.
That's pretty cool, I guess.
All right, let's talk compressors. This is the Moloch Compressor, and this is an amazing fully loaded compressor. And my favorite thing about Moloch, and I will probably never say this about any other plugin, but my favorite thing about this is the instruction manual. Not only does this instruction manual tell you how to use the plugin, it is a complete crash course on compression in general. So this manual not only is going to help you learn how to use this particular compressor, it's going to teach you about compression in general. And hats off to whoever took the time to write this, because I learned a lot just reading it. Next, we have the Kotelnikov compressor from Tokyo Dawn. This is my favorite compressor, period. The feature this has that I've never seen in another compressor is this delta feature, and that lets you hear the inverse of what's being compressed. And why this isn't on every single compressor ever, I don't know. But being able to hear the inverse of what you're doing will really help you learn how to use compression and how to use it well. And last but not least, we have Wider by Polyverse. This just pushes stuff out farther into the stereo field, and it's especially helpful with mono audio. For instance, this horn sample right here is completely in mono. Let's turn Wider on. I'm just going to crank it all the way up. It actually goes past 100% all the way to 185. Here's what it sounds like with that. Without. And playing with. And that wraps it up, folks. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Hit that subscribe button. All the links for these are going to be in the description as well. I hope you enjoy these plugins. Thank you for watching. Peace.
Okay then.